Hello and welcome to Ani's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Haunted House of Havenstreet. Holly Arnold arrived on the Isle of Wight under a sky heavy with clouds, the kind that seemed to press down on the earth with unspoken warnings. She had crossed the Solent by ferry, her historian's notebook tucked into her satchel, her mind buzzing with anticipation. Havenstreet, a sleepy village nestled among the island's green hills, was her destination, a place where the past clung to the present like damp mist. She wasn't here for the quaint steam railway that chugged through the countryside, though its mournful whistle haunted the air. No, Holly had come for the Blackwood House, an old Victorian relic perched near the tracks, its reputation steeped in tales of restless spirits and inexplicable dread. She intended to uncover its secrets for her next book. What she didn't expect was how those secrets would uncover her. The village inn welcomed her with creaking floors and the scent of wood smoke. Mr. Jenkins, the innkeeper, handed her a brass key, his withered hands trembling slightly. You're here for the history, then?" he asked. "Something like that," Holly replied. "I'm interested in the Blackwood House. I've heard it's unusual." "Unusual's one word for it, Ponte's another. Been empty for years. That place folks say it's cursed. Best you steer clear." Holly thanked him. Warnings only fueled her curiosity. She'd faced skepticism before. As a historian with a taste for the uncanny, she thrived on the line between fact and folklore. Upstairs in her room, she unpacked her things: books, a flashlight, a recorder for capturing whispers, tools of her trade. The Blackwood House loomed in her thoughts, its shadowed windows calling her like a siren's song. Morning broke with a drizzle that pattered against the inn's roof. Holly set out, her boots crunching on wet gravel as she followed a twisting path through the woods. Trees arched overhead, their branches skeletal against the grey sky. Then she sought the house. It stood alone, a decaying sentinel at the edge of Havenstreet. Paint flaked from its walls, exposing raw wood beneath. Ivy snaked up its sides, strangling what remained of its former grandeur. The windows stared blankly, dark and uninviting. She shivered, though the air was still. The gate groaned as she pushed it open. Grass brushed her knees, overgrown and wild. She reached the front door ajar, as if daring her to enter. With a steadying breath, she stepped inside. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through cracked panes. The air smelled of mildew and something metallic, sharp enough to catch in her throat. Furniture huddled under sheets frozen in time. A chandelier swayed gently, though no breeze stirred the room. Holly's pulse quickened. She was alone. Or so she thought. Upstairs, the atmosphere shifted. A chill seeped into her bones as she climbed the staircase, each step creaking like a warning. In a bedroom, she found an anomaly of fresh rose, blood red, resting on a dust-choked table. She frowned, reaching for it. Who left this? The petals were soft, alive, impossibly out of place. A sound answered her. Faint, fleeting, a sigh, or perhaps a word. Holly froze, her hand hovering over the flower. The room was empty, yet the air thickened with presence. She shook her head. Imagination, she told herself. Just echoes playing tricks. But the rose stayed in her mind, a scarlet riddle. That night at the inn, Holly met Sarah, a young woman with bright eyes and a penchant for ghost stories. Over tea, Sarah leaned in, voice low. "You went to the Blackwood House, didn't you? Did you feel it?" Holly asked, though she already knew. The weight, the sadness, they say it's tied to the railway accident, late 1800s. A train derailed right near there. Killed dozens. Dr. Ebenezer Blackwood owned the house then. He was a doctor, helped with the bodies. Or didn't help, depending who you ask. "What do you mean? Rumors," Sarah said. "Some say he wasn't just tending the dead, he was experimenting on them, trying to cheat death itself. Creepy?" "You're right, very." She scribbled notes, her mind racing. A historical mystery with a supernatural edge perfect for her book. She needed more. The next day she sought Dr. Mortimer, Havenstreet's resident historian, at the village library. He was a wiry man with a voice like rustling paper. "Dr. Blackwood was brilliant," he said. "Obsessed, too, after the crash. He turned inward, consumed by ideas of resurrection. Kept journals, they say, but no one's found them. If they're anywhere, they're in that house. She searched, her flashlight cutting through shadows. Rooms yielded nothing but decay until the study. Behind a bookshelf, a panel shifted under her touch. She pried it loose, revealing a hidden nook. Inside lay a journal, leather cracked but intact. Her hands trembled as she opened it. The words spilled across the pages in a frantic scroll. Dr. Blackwood had indeed experimented, stitching together science and superstition, electricity, elixirs, rituals to summon life back to cold flesh. His entries grew wilder, describing voices that tormented him, spirits that clawed at his sanity. They will not rest. They demand justice. A gust swept through the room. Darkness swallowed her. Footsteps echoed slow, deliberate, closing in. Holly's breath hitched. "Who's there?" she called. A whisper slithered from the void. Light flared, sudden and blinding. Before her stood a figure tall, gaunt, clad in Victorian garb. His eyes burned with hollow fury. "I am Dr. Ebenezer Blackwood." "And you trespass on my work?" Holly clutched the journal. "Your work was monstrous. You tortured the dead, kept them here, trapped. They deserve peace. I sought mastery over death. I was so close, at their expense. Let them go." Shadows writhed, and then they came spirits, dozens of them, emerging from the walls. Men in workmen's caps, women in tattered dresses, children with wide, mournful eyes, all victims of the derailment, their forms shimmering with anguish. They encircled Blackwood, a silent jury. "No," he roared. But they pressed closer, their whispers rising to a deafening wail. Light erupted, searing and pure. When it faded, Blackwood was gone. The spirits turned to Holly, their faces softening, grateful, released. One by one, they dissolved into mist. The house exhaled. The oppressive weight lifted, leaving only silence. Holly stood, journal in hand, her mission clear. She'd tell their story, ensure their suffering wasn't forgotten. Days later, she sat at the inn, drafting her book. Sarah joined her, wide-eyed. "You banish him? Really, with help?" "The spirits did the heavy lifting." Asterisk to my brother, James, asterisk, she wrote. Asterisk into the loss of Havenstreet. Rest now. Asterisk, James had died in a crash. She'd escaped guilt she'd carried too long. Helping these spirits had lightened that burden, a redemption she hadn't sought but found. The Blackwood house stood quiet now, its hauntings stilled. Holly's book would breathe life into its history, a testament to the past and a promise to move forward. The Isle of Wight held more mysteries, she knew. But for now, she'd faced the darkness and won. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.